What if the way you've been telling your life story reveals the secret to what is holding you back? Stories play an integral part in how we see not only ourselves, but the whole world. Stories are more than just an important part of communication. They also reveal hidden aspects of our inner talk, which can either support us or end up holding us back from the very things we want most in life, without us even realizing it. Join author, mindset coach, and award-winning singer-songwriter Carrie Rowan on her show, Look for the Good, every Monday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. when she shares nuggets of wisdom from her internationally best-selling book, Tell a New Story, 5 Simple Steps to Release Your Negative Stories and Bring Joy to Your Life. Carrie's powerful stories and compelling guests will empower you to change how you look at your own life while giving you some powerful tools and tips you can use every day to help you feel better and move yourself closer to the life you've been longing to live.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Look for the Good. I'm your host, Carrie Rowan, mindset strategist and coach, and I love sharing nuggets of wisdom about the stories that we tell each other, and more importantly, those quiet little stories that we tell ourselves. You can join me and my special guests as we share our personal stories of strength and triumph every week here on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. You can listen online on your mobile device, in your car, or ask Alexa to play Dream Vision 7 Radio. Tune in every Monday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern Time to get real stories and tips on how to turn your story and your life around and evolve with us as we unite humankind with universal love. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Welcome, Sharon. I'm super excited to have you on the show today. Waiting in the wings. And this is going to be fabulous because today, I love talking about all those stories that we think we can't share, those stories that we think are so bad that we just hide them away, we tuck them away. But I'm telling you, inside those stories, and we're going to talk about this today with Sharon, inside those stories hide our superpowers, right? We think that it's an awful story, but when you really look at it and you pull your lens back and you take a 50,000 foot view at your story, your own story, you can start to be objective and start to see, hey, wait a minute, this is actually a story of strength. This is actually, yeah, that was awful what happened to me, but look what I did to get through it. And that's where the wisdom lies. In that is our superpower. And in my book, I call it polishing our pearls, right? I would not have my first full-length album if I didn't go through all those tragedies in my life, if I didn't have life, come up and give me the, proverbial 2x4 in the head. Not that I liked it. I did not. Would I change what happened? Of course. We're not saying you can change anything that happened, but what we're going to say is if you dig deep enough inside, that's where your superpowers are. So the polishing your pearls means life throws you, never mind the lemons and lemonade, you got oysters coming at you, and they are slimy and they are sticky. And you got to roll those sleeves up. You got to dig inside that oyster and get through the muck and the mire and the nastiness of it, because deep inside there's a pearl. But even when you find that little pearl, that little superpower, you got to polish it up. You got to polish it up and make it your own. And I feel like that's really where my music came from, right? Because I had to deal with all that stuff at the same time that I was a young mom with young babies, and get in there and figure out what's the message in here, because in our mess lies our message too, right? And one of the things that Sharon and I have in common, which you're going to find out when I tell you her bio, is we have this beautiful musical theme that runs throughout our work. And so, Sharon, I'm so excited to have you here on the show. Let me share with them, if it's okay with you, a little bit about you, okay? I know it's not always comfortable for us when people read our bio, but it's really, she's got a really impressive bio. So Sharon Seivert is the CEO of Core Coaching and Consulting, a global professional services organization that provides customized one-on-one coaching for business leaders and owners. And the superpower of balanced leadership, which is trademarked, everybody, group programs for high potential executives. She's also the author of Superpower of Balance book series, and like me, a longtime singer-songwriter. And if you're listening on the radio, you can't see that behind her is her beautiful baby grand piano. And welcome, Sharon, welcome.
Welcome. It's so nice to be here with you. We had our first conversation and kind of fell in love, and so much to talk about. So I hope the listeners benefit from wherever we flow today.
Absolutely. Oh, well, you have so much wisdom to share. And, I think that was one of the things that kind of drew us together, right? We've got this professional side of us, but we also have this musical side of us. And I often talk about, well, and in my book is my music as well with QR codes. So it's truly interactive. And the analogy of life and music, right? Like music representing life, how we create it, how we are the director of the orchestra, right? We are the conductor of our lives. Share a little bit about your thoughts on that and how you weave that into your coaching practice.
I grew up in a tiny town in the Midwest, and I would actually ride horses to my piano teacher, Mrs. Fritchie, and God bless the woman. She let us in, stinky as we were, and we had our lessons. And I continued, of course, with my music through the university, getting the degrees in music. And after college, I went into really political organizing, which is the kind of work in many ways that I still do today. And then from there, the writing about these things, which brought back my musical themes. And I talk about all my books being theme and variations. They're all about different applications of the superpower of balance in your life, in your relationships, with money, with how you lead. And I'm writing one now about organizations, and it's all about harmony. And the model of the center and the four directions is a harmonic model. It's actually related to Pythagoras's music of the spheres, if I can be just a little esoteric for half a second, which is that you start at your core, which is the tone, that's your concert, and that's what you vibrate out to the world, and that's how people receive you. This is me, right?
I love
And,
that.
and then your vision is like an octave above that, and then the mission is that fifth tone, which all of a sudden gets that dissonance going. And then harmonies above that in the major third and the minor third, forming the full chord. And that is actually the same model of the center and the four directions. So it weaves so many aspects. Biologically, it weaves the fact that we, as at the center of the compass, that's our core of our body. All you out there getting core training, that really has a meaning. This is your trunk. And the four limbs is what the ancients said, then were the directions. So this is humanity's first image of itself, which relates to some of the first philosophies about the music of the spheres. So there's all this wonderful unification and alignment. And of course, what I try to do with my coaching and my work is get people into harmony.
Oh, that is so beautiful the way you just described that. And getting people into harmony. I could not think of anything that is more important in this world right now, right?
Oh, amen, amen, sister, amen. Yes, right. You really, and I love your themes of joy and happiness, the professor of joy and happiness, because there is this deep happiness that happens when you're in harmony. And when it comes from your core or who you are, it's actually, there's two different kinds of happiness, say the Greeks, okay?
Mhm.
There is hedonic happiness, which more food, more wine, more people.
Right.
Bring it on, bring it on, bring it on.
Mhm.
And then there's eudaimonic happiness, which means indwelling spirit. And they are actually in different parts of your brain. They light up different parts of your brain. So there's these two different kinds of happiness. And we want both for you, dear listeners. We want you to have great meals and a nice roof over your head. And we also want you to have this deep, purpose-driven meaning to your life. That is the sounding tone. That is your core tone.
That is so beautifully said. Because we flounder, right? Look at how many people that are super successful. You can bring like movie stars or whoever, somebody who's famously in our that we know, right, from afar, and how unhappy they become, right?
Mm.
Because they might have all the money, they have the fame, they've got the skill set, they're good at what they do, people admire them. It looks as if they should have it all, but yet they crumble and fall. Why? For what you just said, that very reason. They don't have the purpose. And if you don't have the purpose, that's where contribution and satisfaction comes from. That's where your meaning in your life comes from. I love that on a deep level.
Right. That's your destiny. So the issue is the destiny, the self-actualization is what differentiates a lot of people a lot of coaching like you do now. It differentiates where we're trying to take people. When I first started in coaching, I remember asking someone what he was looking for, and he said, well, it's just the metrics, just get them to perform better. I'm going, I don't like that. I think that's a shitty definition. And I didn't know exactly, but my instincts are going, no, man, you are so wrong. It's really about people becoming themselves fully, being in environments that let them be themselves and grow to their full potential. That is possible. People actually do that, and their workplaces carry them there, or their workplaces crush them and make them
Absolutely.
feel, weak
Yeah.
and not worthy.
Absolutely. And I think to find that is the beautiful marriage of
Oh,
all
yeah.
that, right? Like to be able to be fully yourself is truly where our confidence
Oh,
comes from, right?
yes.
It's naturally derived. It's already in there. We were born with that. We were born knowing who we are, right? And the world like squeaks it out of us. Same thing as our creativity, right? It just squeezes that out of us.
And there's research to back that, which is that there was a longitudinal study done out of, I believe, the University of Southern California. And I mean, it was 30 years when I looked at it. It's probably 40 years now that the study's been going on. And they found that people very, very early in their lives, their gifts show. I'm not talking about talents. I'm not talking about skills. I'm talking about their gifts, this innate DNA thing that we're talking about,
Yeah.
this core of who I am, my purpose, what I'm supposed to do here. And so it shows up in kids, and they tend to ignore it because it's so damn easy for them.
That's so
And so
interesting.
they just say, well, I can help you with your math, but it's no problem. I don't have a special, they don't think that it's like special. The way your brain works, that's special. So if the students went on in their lives to use their gifts that showed up in these early days, they were happy, they were successful, they were, in all measures. If they didn't, if they went into, if they were really born to be, a musician like you, and they went into accounting, they're crabby, they're mean, they are really unpleasant to be around. It just is not working. They're kicking the dogs, the cats, anything that's near them. They're miserable human beings because they know in their bone marrow that they're off track. They know in their bone marrow, and it feels hopeless to them and helpless. And there's no other way. But we know there's a way.
Always. To return back to yourself and
Return back.
embrace who you are, right? Fully.
Yeah, and that where your brilliance is also where the money is. I mean, you can find a way to have a good life, have all of the other things that you need, all your needs met, and your soul is happy, happy, happy.
Oh,
It doesn't get much better than that,
I
huh?
was just gonna say that is absolutely that is the ultimate, right? That is heaven on earth.
Yeah,
Right?
truly.
It's truly embracing that, and yet people, I feel, because of those stories in their heads, right? They were
Yeah.
told this or told that, or you're going to be a lawyer like dad, or we need you to be a doctor. And the parents lay out the plan, well-meaning, right? Well-intended. But we stuff that down, right? We
Yeah.
stuff down that superpower. I'm so sensitive. Maybe that's a man's superpower, but he's learned to stuff it down because someone told him that was really bad to be sensitive and
Right.
vulnerable, right?
I was once called into a family where the parents were truly worried about their daughter. They thought their daughter was retarded in some way. And so I met with them because they were friends of friends. It's not my area of expertise, but it took me about 5 minutes to figure out what the problem was.
Really?
And then both parents were accountants. The child was born to be a creative, and she would like sit in the bathtub until she got wrinkly and dream things, and the parents thought she was retarded.
No kidding.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So
she was a
you'll,
creative.
yeah. She was just like, she was dreaming. She thinks she became a writer. Yeah.
Oh, I
But
love
again, is that wild? So that
Yeah,
this is,
I
and
get
so
it.
and parents can't choose these things for their gifts. Life would be so much easier if as you well know, so much easier if we could say, no, I don't want a musician. I want I want a
Right.
financial manager. Right. That doesn't work that way.
It does not work that way. And it's understanding that it, like you said, the example of the parents of the child, it could be something like for them, they're so linear and she was so right-brained, right?
Right. Yeah.
And they couldn't even embrace it or understand it. Why doesn't she know numbers,
It did lift the veil for them and put them on a much happier path. So but that, I think all of us go through that with our friends, with our family members,
Yes.
looking out at the people in the workplace, and we go, I don't understand that person. Well, they have different gifts. Use it. Work with it. They have
Exactly.
different gifts. Yes.
Right.
God
Which
bless
can
them.
right? Which can
Oh my
benefit. And
God.
that's why we try to, that need to fit in, you know, kicks us in the butt. All those silly little stories in our head that we picked up in grade school, middle school, high school about doing anything to fit in, right? Because nobody wants to stick out at that age because you're going to get crucified at that point. You're going to get
Yeah.
made fun of. You're going to get bullied, all these things that happen, right? So we try so hard, but really, that's
Yeah.
when we give our power away, is when we try to conform.
Right. And we do tell these stories. So I'm so fascinated by this emphasis that you have on the storytelling, because of course, when people come into me for coaching, they have all kinds of stories that they're
Oh,
telling
yeah.
about themselves. And I sort of have a specialty area where I work with, sort of pretty high-powered women, small business owners, and also senior leaders. So, and then men of color. So people who are not necessarily in the elite, and somehow feel that there's something wrong with them because they're not. So there are all these compensatory stories that they tell themselves. So a huge part of this is that we have to tell a story about your future self and begin living it now. We're going to start living that now. So
Yeah.
what are the pieces of that story that you can create?
Yeah.
And that makes them feel so powered, because this is who I'm supposed to be. This is who I can be. And I've been kind of blaming other people that I'm not. So what are we going to do about that?
We're going to tell a new story. That's what
Yeah,
we're
I
going
could
to do.
tell a new story. Yeah, yeah,
We're going to
absolutely.
tell, right? We're going to tell a new story, which is, you know, the title of my book. We're going to get in there and figure out, like you said, okay, you heard him say the stories, but now they need to understand what the stories are, right? And that's the first thing I'll tell a new client is go get a notebook. This is your story catcher notebook. You got to start catching them because you don't even know what they are. You're so used to hearing them in your head, you can't be objective about them.
Right. You don't even know how you're being, what scene you are in this large act that you're doing, right?
Yeah. And until you can get in there and identify what they are, well, now we've got some good stuff to work with, right? And because
Mm.
the thing is, and I love that you bring up the neuroscience of all this, is that these stories were created back before we were 7 years old, right? When our brains were just in that alpha mode. We were just big sponges soaking it up because that's how our brains learn. But we're still letting those stories control our lives. You wouldn't let a 7-year-old drive your car, would you? I would. I would.
Yeah, yeah, really, a really, really bad idea. And we don't have a lot of context or training to help people reprogram themselves and rethink themselves and imagine themselves so much bigger. The way I talk about it with my people is we are about to play a much bigger game than you've been playing.
I love that.
Yeah, so let's, I do, I do the imitation of All About Eve, which is fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
Well, strap yourself in, baby.
Strap yourself in, right? We are going places. Yes.
I love that. I love that because you're planting the seed, right? You're putting it out, you know, out into the universe. You're telling your subconscious, you're reprogramming that RAS in your brain, right? That activating system, what's important to you. And now you're combining that with a visualization of your future self. There is nothing more powerful.
Right, right. And you begin acting it. You actually begin living it and acting it. The other thing that's really, really important in the work that I do, and part of what you do with your podcast, getting people together, is develop community. Most people need to have a different set of friends. They need to have
It's true.
higher level company and community, um, uh, to lift themselves up. So we talk about it as being the greatness is a team sport. We need, you don't do it by yourself. It's really, 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 really hard to do it by yourself. You want community, which is sometimes the coach can provide for you, if you have a therapist or if you have supportive spouses and that sort of thing. But in truth, you want to travel with people who are traveling in their evolution. So you might not be able to get rid of your family, you might, those in-laws, they stay, what can you do about it? But you can add to your universe these people who are willing and worthy to travel with you.
And that elevation lifts everybody
Yes.
up, right? It lifts you up. It reminds you. And you know, that old saying about you become the 5 people that you hang out with most, you know, you find yourselves acting, thinking. It's this synchronistic thing that happens with human brains, you know, and it's a real thing. So I love that. I love the community that you're creating. It's really
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah, I do too. They've given me as much as I've given them. So it is a global community. We're looking at bringing this work to, you know, leaders and companies around the world. And as a side part of that, to bring it to the youth in that area, in that country.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, so that they start early thinking about themselves differently, the gifts they have and what they want to do with them, who they are as a full human being with a soul, a mind, a strong will, emotions, a body, and they're in this context. They live in this context that holds them and we believe is a friendly universe, wants to support their growth.
I love that. It's such a great shift for kids at that age because
Ah,
it's so much easier, right? Instead of waiting till you're an adult and I got to reprogram everything. Like I've got all this
oh,
baggage,
please.
right?
Oh, yes, please, please, please. Yeah, they have, by then they have suffered so much more than they need to suffer.
So true. So true. And don't go anywhere, everybody. We're going to break real quick. We'll be right back with Sharon's incredible wisdom. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Look for the Good. We are having this high vibe conversation with Sharon, and I know you guys are hanging on her every word. It's really amazing. We are just talking about how you're bringing this to youth around the world. I love the thought of that, teaching those kids, you know, to really figure out who they are, what are their gifts, and how do they really tap into their core and figure out and listen to themselves more instead of this loud outside world that we have around us.
Yes, it's very gratifying to work with youth. And we had so many surprises. Not only did the people, the youth we worked with, um, score higher on their SATs. So we went in to improve their study skills, really get the stress down around testing and around studying. But we had all kinds of other things that we did not anticipate. One of the most surprising was that the incidence of racial or sexual harassment, it stopped or really got low in this big school because the different homerooms, the different groups were diverse. And so if if your classmate from Guatemala is being harassed by some of the white kids or the black kids, your group is there because you have got the plan. Or if some young woman is being harassed, her brothers are there. It was such an interesting thing that this sense of belonging redefined also who they were in the world. So their sense of inclusion was stronger. And I think that that also led to having more contacts that would open up the world for them.
That's really, really powerful. I love that. And again, starting at a young age so that they
Yes.
can learn to embrace our differences, and diversification is the only way to go, and inclusion and how that
Yeah.
feels personally.
Wonderful. And to have internal definitions of themselves rather than society's external definitions of themselves. This is who I am. These are my talents. This is, they define themselves completely differently from the inside out. And then they can meet the world much more strongly. True for leaders too, against,
Absolutely.
some of the corporate problems. Yes.
So true.
For
And that's where true confidence, like I mentioned before, comes
bingo,
from the inside out. That's where true
bingo. Yeah.
happiness comes from the inside out. It's an inside job. I say that to my kids all the time. And so I love that, really defining. And how do you teach them to, like, you know, listen to that quiet inner voice that's, again, been so ironed out of us?
Yeah. So first thing you do is you sit down in that chair and you shut up. All of you.
Hard
I
to
mean,
do.
all of you. No, everyone there is going to sit down in that chair and is going to
And
shut up for a
and
little while.
shut up and shut this up too.
And shut the, oh yeah, no, that is gone. That is gone by the time they walk in. And we get them to breathe. So we get them to slow down and breathe, and then they do that together. We would have them speak one at a time. We would practice having their voice come from their breath. All of a sudden, they are chemically changed. They are chemically changing themselves. And so they could actually hear their intuition. I had a young man come in once after a weekend, and he kind of stormed in and he said, that breathing stuff, that doesn't work. And I said, oh, well, tell me more about that. And he says, I was out and I was hanging with my friends, and all of a sudden there were gunshots, and so I ran. And I'm going, well, yeah. You do not sit down into lotus position and wait for them to
Right.
come and kill you. No, I said, but I bet your intuition told you where to run. That was safer.
Oh, yeah.
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 So for them, teaching them this intuition, teaching them the breathing, many of them came and said, I got out of a really tough spot that weekend. The people were gathering, and I could feel that something was off. And so my friends and I left, and later on there was a knife fight. Someone got really hurt, So when you get them to be quiet, they can hear about their gifts, they can hear about dangers in the area. This is how we save our children, is if we get them to be quiet, to listen to good internal signals that they can then test in the real world.
And because you gave them proof, right? Because they experienced it, then they can
Yeah.
reflect
Yeah.
back, have some self-reflection and say, "Ooh, I do see the way. I did run somewhere safe. I did know not to go to that."
Right.
Because that's really where the true learning happens. We can say
Exactly.
it all we want, right?
Right. And similarly with leaders.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I could say, I don't want you to go there. I think it's a bad idea. I don't think you should go there.
Right, right. But until they figure it out themselves and start to lead themselves, will they
Yeah.
be a better leader, right? And
Yes, very
using
much.
like, right, that kinesthetic, using their body, getting their body involved, which we've forgotten about. We're so busy up here that we don't bring it down here.
Right. We get really stupid really fast when we're not using all of our forms of intelligence, our emotional intelligence, our kinesthetic, all of those kinds of intelligences will keep us safe and will help us grow.
Yeah, beautifully said. I'd love for you to share with the listeners one of your stories. Share a story about something you used to say, or something that was limited, or something that was a big obstacle that you realized later was actually one of your superpowers.
Right. Well, I grew up in this tiny town in the Midwest that was a Klan town. I mean, a certified Klan, Ku Klux Klan town. It was the
Wow.
county seat, and some holidays or other, the Klan would march around on their horses and in a parade and with their sheets on. And our family were the Papists. We were the Catholics. We were the first Catholics in town. And we were not
Really?
welcome.
bet.
And that didn't change much until there were more of us, and the Bergens, who were Jewish, came to town. And then we had to protect them, circle the wagons around them.
Mhm.
But a story that I told myself was that I defined myself as other.
Other.
Yeah, I am other.
Interesting.
And what the other needs to do is to fight for the downtrodden.
Wow.
And so I went into politics. I started a family planning center, a rape crisis center, a battered women's center, women, infants, and children's. I started a group health plan
Wow.
that went against the medical establishment of the community. I was a firebrand. I was a pain in the ass to the community because I defined myself as other. And these things needed to be righted. Okay.
Mm.
And the limitations of that story is that you are always on the outside, which was okay with me. But in more recent years, I've told a different story. And it's really that pretty much every one of us, even the people in power who are doing levers that I don't approve of, feel like they're other.
Wow.
Everybody feels that there's something off or wrong about them, and they often hide it, which is where you go to those stories about, this is I have this very, very wealthy family, but da 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 da. So they get to be other. They get to be wrong or different or alone or not enough. Everyone has a not enough kind of a story.
Yes, they do.
So what I've done is I've moved to a story of inclusion, which is that I am part of this human fabric, and part of my job is helping others see where they are in the tapestry of this beautiful fabric that we're weaving. And the breakthrough for me was when I have my own set of coaches, which is, helps me to continue to grow. And someone said to me, when you go into that, that management team, And they have more than $400 billion under advisement, these people who are sitting in the room with you. Remember, they're just folks. And they're just folks who are struggling with their stuff. And I went, okay, I'll try that on. I'll be damned, it was right. It was right. And I'm going, okay, I can go anywhere now. I don't have to be other. And I can help more people realize that they are not other either. They have such important gifts to give to the rest of us.
That's so beautiful, Sharon. And I hope people are listening and thinking about, what is that thing that you call yourself? What do you think? Are you other? Right? Do we
Are
think
you
we
not
all-
enough? Yeah.
Are you we all have that one, right? To some degree, right? Oh, we're not enough. We're not enough. Fill in the blank. One of the exercises in my book is that you take the limiting belief and then you put the blank after it.
Ah, nice. Very
Or
nice.
you
Yes.
put, or you put an unless after it. I'm not
Hmm.
enough unless. Fill that blank in. Why?
Mhm.
Because after that is all the criteria that you've given yourself. Now you know even more about why aren't you enough. I'm not lovable unless, right? So when you
Mhm.
fill in
Right.
that blank behind it, you get a lot more information about that so that you can go after it. So you can
Right.
figure that out why, like you did, right? And
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
embrace your superpower.
Yeah. And so it's very freeing to realize that when people walk into a room, they're always not feeling necessarily that they belong. And so one of the things that I learned from City Yoga that I studied for a long time was that welcoming is the highest religion.
Ooh,
So what I always do is, I'm not the hostess. I mean, this isn't my party, but I welcome people come in because everyone's just a little bit insecure or feeling off their game. And that's what I try to do with my life. So I've changed the story of other to the story of welcoming, I guess, and inclusion.
that is beautiful. I love what you said. Welcoming is the highest religion.
Isn't that beautiful? Yeah.
It's so beautiful. And it is so true. It is so true that when you
Mm.
said it, it just rang so true, right?
Don't we need a lot more of that
Yeah.
today?
Right? We
Yeah.
need some welcoming. Even back, I feel like I'm going to take this one level deeper. Even in welcoming back to ourselves. I feel like a lot
Oh,
of times,
nice.
right?
Yeah.
We don't welcome ourselves. We're not welcome to be ourselves somehow,
Mm.
right? What can people do about that? How can they welcome themselves back to themselves?
Well, sitting quietly, I gotta say, start with sitting quietly and breathing so that you get into your own body. Like I would tell the kids, sit
Yeah.
down and shut up and breathe. This is all we're doing for a little bit.
Right?
And
Right?
just, yeah, and that's very, 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 very hard to do. With a lot of my execs, I start them out by walking, doing this,
Brilliant.
because I cannot for the life of me tie them into their chairs. So
Right.
if you walk and count your breath and you can get really calm. You can really bring down that nervous system. So we have to bring that whole fight, flight, freeze, and fawn response down, or there's no way that intuition can get through the noise.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that forward motion is a beautiful way. And it's proven that that forward motion of walking
Yes.
really, really allows you to drop all your cares because you're not running away from something, but that walking, that forward motion, the arms swinging, we could talk about the energy that happens between our body and the crossing of our energies again. You're just basically realigning yourself and you're just
Yes.
leaving that behind. Now the mind feels free. It frees the mind when you're walking and going
Right.
forward.
Yeah.
Think about it symbolically. You're going forward, right? So I love that you're doing that with your executives so that they can clear their brains, get out of that fight or flight, which people don't even realize that they're in survival mode probably 85% of the day.
Oh, dear God, we are living in a tragic time of people killing themselves for no damn good reason.
Yeah, so true.
And one of the things that I very typically see with my clients is that they get healthier. There are indexes from the doctor's office saying, well, your blood pressure is down and your, this blood level thing is down and on and on and on. Your eyes are clear. I mean, they come back because they've just dropped the noise. They've dropped the toxins that they're throwing into their system. So they are moving out of disharmony and discord to dissonance into harmony and ease.
Oh, and we love that. We musicians love that. I think I
We
told
do
you
love
I
that.
signed
It
my
makes
email.
us smile.
It makes us so I miss that. I miss that because I was in a band for many years and it was the female harmonies together and I miss that.
Oh, yeah, nothing better.
Right? I mean, I had this little catchphrase I used to say about when you listen to us, you'll remember that angels are real. Yeah, so
Wow.
yeah, it was very beautiful. And so I sign all my emails with In Harmony because there's nothing more beautiful. It brings me back to that old song, I'd like to teach the world to sing in perfect harmony.
In perfect harmony. Yes.
So true. And don't go anywhere. Well, don't, listeners, we're going to be right back with Sharon. Hold tight. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to this harmonic conversation with Sharon Seivert. This is so powerful. I love our discussion here today. Let's talk a little bit about, we were talking about leaders. Let's talk about, you mentioned to me the 6 powers. I'd love to share this. I think people want to hear the 6 powers because we somehow have given all our power away.
Bingo.
And let's identify it. What are the powers that we actually do have?
Wonderful. Well, again, if people think about, and this is for you as a leader, this is for you as a, as someone who's at home, this is for you as a student. You have these powers. This is your natural birthright, and nothing can make me smile broader than have you claim these powers for yourself.
Amen.
Amen, sister. Yes. Do I hear an amen? All right. Okay. So when we have people develop this program for themselves, we start, of course, at the core, which is your soul. This is the power about who you are in your essence. So when you have it, you're calm, you're confident, you can hear your intuition, and you know your purpose. So this is the purpose driven. You have strong values and ethics that you stick to because they make sense of your life. They're the tone, they're the concert A for you in the orchestra tuning. So this is what you go to. When you're off balance on that, when it's not working well for you, you feel agita, you just feel off balance. You feel you don't have a good sense of yourself or confidence. You're kind of lost, I would say, that you kind of feel lost and just don't get it or don't necessarily have a sense that you're in the right place at the right time or anything. It's just that being off feeling. Okay.
Yeah.
So when you're strong in the core, then it's very easy to go to these next steps. Each of these steps is like, you know how when you make a lasagna, you have the pasta and then you have the filler and pasta and filler. That's what we do. This is the way the method is. So now we move out to the east. Is another way to think about it. Now you move out to the east, and this is about your visioning. Well, we want your vision. A good, strong vision is tied to your core. So I could have the vision of being an opera singer, but it's not really what I'm supposed to be doing in this world. Okay. So, or I can have this vision of being the top executive at Dell, but it's not really my gifts. It's not really where I am. So we want the vision to be tied to that. So the vision is very strong when your vision is tied to who you are, and it takes you to your destiny. It takes you to your destiny, what you're supposed to be doing on the planet, that sort of thing.
I love that.
And so this gets into the issue of your stories, because we want your vision to be the story you tell yourself.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love that.
Right. And the beliefs that you have.
Right.
The new story. So we have the old story. New and improved, yep, and moving you to a future that you want. So your destiny is there in the vision, fulfilling the seeds of your core. So that's when it's going well and you've claimed your power, you choose your beliefs. You got a lot of beliefs handed to you, but you need to go out there in the world and test them and poke them and prod them. Oh, and maybe make some new beliefs and new stories. Okay, so, but we want it again to be tied to your core. Now that we have those two tied together, and someone who's weak in that area will have dysfunctional beliefs, to beliefs that take you in a downward spiral. I'm not good enough. Yeah, the limiting beliefs. There you go in a nutshell. The next power is that of the fire element, and that's about your mission and your will. So when you look into the future, you have all these things, this big vision about what you want to do. With the mission, with the fire part of yourself, we move into action. We move into action on one thing at a time.
I like that. One thing at a time.
Focus.
We're not good at that.
Yeah, we're so bad at that. So
Scattered.
anyone who's listening, I just need you to write this down right now. There's no such thing as multitasking.
Oh, you knew I was thinking that word.
You were, yeah, you
Because
have
my
been,
husband tells me all the time about multitasking.
yeah, you have to let that particular belief go, because all you're doing is what the scientists call brain switching. You do one thing for a little bit, then you do the another thing for the another, but da, 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 but your brain is moving rapid speed back and forth, and it is exhausting.
It is.
So when people have trouble with procrastination, when they have trouble with prioritization in this particular element, this is in this element, because I don't know what to do. I really know I want to get there, but I haven't taken these steps. I don't know what steps to take. This is where you get the plan down. Okay.
Yeah, I like it.
So you move forward with priorities that are going to take you to your vision and going to fulfill your core, what you're here to do. Okay. Then we move on to the interactions element in the West. That's the part of us that is our emotional intelligence and everything. And what we're looking for here is in your internally being coherent with your emotions, knowing what you're feeling and why you're feeling them, and honoring your emotions, because all your emotions are doing trying to give you feedback about the
Right.
situation. So if you're angry about something, pay attention to it. If you're stressed about something, pay attention, because we need to deal with it if we're going to move on.
Yeah.
That's the
It's
internal work.
information.
Yeah, it's information. Just use the information.
Yeah.
And it's a reflection, because now we put things into action. So there's parts of you that are part of your brain is going, oh, you can't do that. You've never done that. You need to stop doing that. So
The imposter.
the imposter really comes out at this moment.
Yeah. The imposter
So,
syndrome.
yeah,
There it is.
yeah. So this is where we remedy that by paying attention and then acting appropriately on these things. There's the external aspect also of improving your relationships. We want people with you who are supporting your mission, your vision, and your internal self.
Yeah.
This is where we gather people who will help lift us up.
Ooh, big important piece.
Very, very important piece. And it's that GPS in your emotions that will take you to them. You will feel resonance with them.
Yeah.
And if you feel resonance with them, they're your people and they will help you.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's how we build. Now we have someone who's putting their shoulders to the wheel with you.
Ooh, yeah. Beautiful.
In that.
Beautiful.
And then the last of the elements in the circle is the earth element. And this is about, you get up in the morning at this time and you do your work and you get these things done and you have your task list, and the task list is taken care of. Now we know what you're supposed to do because you've done the other elements. So if you're not doing that one well, you're overwhelmed. And because you haven't prioritized things properly, and you don't have other people helping you. So it's like, it's impossible. I can't lift this rock. It's too big. I'm just shoving it up and it's impossible. So that, yeah, so that's that. And then if the structure is aligned with the prior elements, you know what to do and why you're doing it. And you have priorities. And so the load on that you're carrying is not as big. You've actually laid down some stuff, some tasks you were doing previously.
I love that. It's beautiful. So when somebody new comes to you, how do you diagnose where in that 6 power scheme are they falling short? How do you figure that out?
Yeah, and actually we need to say that the very last, not so much an element, but the context for the elements is synergy. And that's the issue of ease and flow that you speak about. When these others are aligned, it's like this hummingbird going, everything's in the same tune and it's lifting together. So that's when you go, wow, that was beautiful. That was so great. So that's what holds everything together. This unified sound field.
Because everything's in that harmony, right? You're in sync. You're in sync. You're in sync with yourself.
You're aligned. Absolutely. It's all together. So that's what holds all of these other parts together. So
really beautiful. Yeah, it's like when you're out of alignment, right? I use that
Bingo.
example all the time. It's like when your car's out of alignment. Well, we keep driving it. But if you keep driving it without fixing it or just hold on tighter to the wheel, I know that's over. That wheel's going to fall off soon, and the whole thing's going to just be a calamity.
And that is many people's lives.
Exactly.
That is the analogy. You're holding on tight. You're right. It's a bumpy ride,
You're
and
white knuckling.
we should stop and get this damn thing tuned, right? Totally.
But they don't. They wait for the crash. What's the crash? Illness. Who knows?
Yeah.
Relationship problems,
Relationships
divorce,
breaking
you
up.
lose your
Yeah.
job, blah, 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 blah,
Oh
blah.
yeah, no, we've seen it. Yeah. So you asked when people come in, what do I do? It depends. Some people come into with me and they are in an absolute emergency situation, and we have to make some emergency fixes
Mhm,
wherever they need it
mhm,
on the wheel.
mhm.
When people come into me and they're trying to start a business or they're trying to start from scratch, I really like to start them inside out.
Yeah,
I like to really do that, and we get such good results so fast
yeah, I bet.
if we follow that. But we are agile, and sometimes you just need to move to the fact that you're in doing a lot of fighting with your spouse and your boss, God help us. And how are we going to manage that conflict? So we have to go right to there, because otherwise we don't have anything else to work with. That's going to collapse.
Yeah, right. You're building the foundation. I love that. From the
Yeah.
inside out.
Yeah, it's so much stronger that way if we can get people to do that.
Yeah, if they can see the light, that's the only way to build it.
Yeah, and if we can't do that because we're called in and it's an emergency, then we take care of the emergency and we backfill.
You bet.
We backfill. So we make sure that everything's okay over here, because that
Mhm.
was the circumstance that brought us to them or to him and her.
Yeah.
And now we need to, there was a hole in the dike. And we
Yeah.
got the thumb in, got the finger in, and we kept the land from flooding. I know this, I go to Holland all the time. But now that we've kind of cemented that up and the boy is retreat, doesn't have to stay there for the rest of his life. Now we need to really refortify the whole seawall.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we
The
have
whole
to
system.
rebuild it or
Mhm.
rethink it. Maybe it doesn't belong here. Maybe it belongs in another part of the country. I mean, now we are really free to redo everything.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And it's so systematic, yet it's
Yeah.
so uh uh I want to call it, it's so universal, right? You're using the powers of the universe, which are all embedded within this, the things
Yeah.
that we've forgotten about, right?
Right, and since everyone from children, we've taken this to children who are in the second grade in Montessori schools, to the CEOs, to, I have one colleague who is consulting with the departments in another country. We can take this from individuals to large systems, and because it's an archetype, because we all know this makes so much sense, we can build from there.
So beautiful. I love what you have created. It is really otherworldly. And you are
Thank
just
you.
filled with joy. When you guys can watch this on video, if you're just listening to it now, you can feel her energy is palpable. But you got to see her and watch it, because it really is. And that, my friend, is contagious.
Yes, it's a good contagion, isn't it? We need
It
some
very
good contagions out there.
Yes, we do. Yes.
Deliberate ripple effects. This is what we work with. We want deliberate, conscious, steady ripple effects. And then everything changes around us and becomes so much easier to do good work in the world, right? We're
Absolutely.
looking for the good, right?
We're looking for the good. Absolutely. You're singing my song. And it's driven by our intentions, that good
Yeah.
intention, the positive intention that we all want more from our lives. We all want to be aligned, because when we do that individually, right, then we have an aligned group consciousness.
Yes, yes, and you deserve that. The other thing, you really, truly deserve this. This is your birthright. This is how you were born. This is how you were equipped, and we just have to have you remember it and practice it, and then it's yours all over again, as it
Oh,
should be.
there's something in that statement that's so, it just, not only does it ring true, but it's calming. My whole system, when you said that, just went,
Oh,
oh.
yeah. Yeah, it's a lot less working for it than allowing it back in.
Ooh, that's beautiful. Yeah, because people don't know how to allow. You know, it's like the cork floating, right? Like we are really just a cork, but we hold ourselves under the water with all this heaviness, right? The
Yeah.
limiting beliefs and all this gunk that we've put on ourselves that hold us down. But the day we say, I'm just going to let all this go, and we get it out of our nervous system,
Oh
however
my
we want to
God.
go about that, we just
Yeah, I
pop
can
right
feel
back.
that too when you say that. Can all of you out there in radio and TV land, can you feel that? Let it sink in.
Yeah, and you will just pop right back because that's who we are. We don't have to dig any deeper than that. That is who we are. We are here to feel joy in our lives and to share that with other people. It really is that simple, however you want to go about it. And the second you let go of all that stuff you've been carrying around, your nervous system will thank you, your body will thank you, your mind, your spirit.
And oddly enough, it's the safest thing to do. People hold on to these things because they're afraid. But the safest thing for you to do long term is to let go of whatever is not functional in your life.
I love that because that's the brain, right? The brain is
Yep.
always trying to keep us safe. It's going to remind us of all the bad stuff that happened to us.
Oh
before.
God, yeah.
It is so good at finding what's wrong with the situation, what's wrong with other people, what's wrong with that. We're so good at that.
Yep.
We don't even need to practice that because
Right.
that's the way we're designed, everybody. And I like to try to normalize this because I think people forget or they don't know. We're all like that.
Mhm.
We all have those same thoughts. We all have that. We all walk in the room and feel the same way that you said.
Yeah.
But learning
Yeah.
to understand that it is just your brain. And I love what you just said, ending on this note, that it's the safest place to be because when you start looking for the good and you start looking for what's working, then you're rewiring your whole entire brain and way of thinking.
Oh, it's a beautiful place to be.
It sure is.
Yeah.
Amen to that. This has been a beautiful conversation, Sharon.
Thank you so much. We have way too much fun.
We do. We could talk for a whole nother hour.
I don't think we've broken any laws on fun, but we have way too much. Just checking.
So tell them where they can get, you mentioned this really cool free gift. Tell them where they can find that, where they can find out more about you.
Oh, absolutely. So go to our website, which is Core Coaching Consulting, CORE, coachingconsulting.com. And you're going to find whatever areas of most interest to you. But I recommend that you go to the leader section and to get the free report there, the free leadership report, because it goes over each of the elements that we went through in fast, and you can apply it to whatever your need in your life is. So, for your child, who you want to feel more powerful, for yourself at home, obviously many, many places in the workplace. So if you get that, that's great. And you can also browse through. We have lots of free gifts there on the website. And every month we have a free event.
Ooh,
just where I
really?
go. Yeah. Ooh, I know. Where
Yeah.
we just, so it's a public service, and we have people talk about, some of our work, and people get an experience. So it's an experience and practice thing. So it's very, very cool.
I love that. Thank you so much for coming on. What a joy having you here today, Sharon.
Thank you. You too. In harmony.
In harmony, my friend, forevermore. Absolutely perfect harmony. And so remember, everybody, if you want to get the inside scoop and the behind the scenes scoop, go to my website, carrierowan.com, and click on the podcast tab, sign up for my newsletter, and you will find out really cool things about the behind the scenes. And don't forget, everyone, it is never too late to live your best story. Be well.
Thanks for tuning in to Look for the Good with your host, Carrie Rowan, best-selling author and mindset coach. Join us every Monday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. right here at Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. If you weren't able to catch an episode, no worries. Just visit our website to find all the archived episodes of Look for the Good on demand, so you don't miss a thing. And remember, it's never too late to live your best story. For additional resources or to find out about how you can work with Carrie directly, visit carrierowan.com for more details.